Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's do some State of the Nation conversation. I told you yesterday that Mr. Felix Morka will be back, and he's back with us. Now, Mr. Shagun Showumi is a spectator in this matter because Felix Morka, the APC spokesperson, is coming to let us know what exactly, why would Nigerians believe in this Bola Tinubu-led APC government with what they are facing in terms of the state of affairs of this country. Thank you so much, and welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Yeah, I say you're a spectator because you've had it time.
Only for some time.
Mr. Morka, and you heard what Mr. Ushomi said earlier. A lot of people will imagine that how can the APC tell Nigerians to be patient? Because you were inferring that yesterday, that in all of the indices of our economy, everything seems to be in the negative. Yet you want Nigerians to be patient. How much patience are you expecting from Nigerians?
Patience is what I expect. In a country such as ours, patriotism calls upon us in this moment to be patient. Because the government of the current president has, I think, made clear and has rolled out very critical programs of policy interventions that are meant to tackle our national problems, especially our economic problems, at its roots. You know, now, government is a continuum. The former administration of President Buhari and the former National Assembly enacted the Petroleum Industry Act. And upon his inauguration, this president was constrained and mandated to implement what was already law in Nigeria, which is to take a subsidy, because, you know, there was no provision made for that. Shehu, there are not many countries in the world that would have spent between debt servicing and the subsidy regime well over 90% of its revenue to make that happen. Don't get me wrong. You know, it is a wonderful thing for citizens to be able to actually drive into filling stations and buy fuel at the least, you know, possible price. That's wonderful. But over the years, our government, built the dependency that I think saw Nigerians enjoying that, you know, access. But you know what? It came to a point, as it has come to, where the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria could no longer afford to, you know, help Nigerians, you know, gain access literally for nothing. And the government has said, you know what? Listen, we can't do this anymore, because continuing will continue to deprive us as a nation the capacity to actually grow our economy and build prosperity. Now, you know, I think this point that I'm making is one that I think is without any kind of, you know, controversy. Because my dear brother here, you know, Shegun, and everyone else in his party, including his own 2023 presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, campaigned to Nigerians, to the same electorate that Bola Tinubu campaigned to also remove the fuel subsidy, you know, regime. It wasn't just the PDP. Labour Party did the same thing. And I think that both candidates, Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar, just like, you know, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, also promised Nigerians in that campaign, that is just barely a year ago, to also float our currency, to remove the, you know, multiple, you know, foreign exchange system, which has hamstrung the country. So, you know, my point is that to begin with in this conversation, we need to set that record straight so that our listeners can actually have a perspective to understand what is going on.
And I'm one person, I do a lot of policy conversation on this very desk every day. And in those 365 days of my life sitting here, there are critical issues. And as a human being, first as a human being, then a Nigerian, then a journalist, I also wear a hat to say I'm equally a father. I have responsibility to family. And I also need to be professional, be patriotic. So in analyzing these issues, one needs to also understand that, yeah, you need to give people a chance when they get into office. But the fear is this, Mr. Morka. And if you would like, I can reel out all the economic indicators. Your government got into office, and you're speaking tonight to us as though it was PDP that handed over power to an APC government about over a year ago. It was an APC-led government for 8 years, handed over to an APC government. And those who will say the Buhari government set Nigeria back by 20 years, economically speaking. Mr. Morka, our inflation rate, 34%. Food inflation, 37%. Unemployment rate. Do you know what they say? 28 years. It hasn't been that bad for some of these indicators. Mr. Morka, it's so bad that we have never seen in the life of me that our exchange rate has gone this bad. Indicators of our economy, all of it that you can think of, are in the red, in the negative. If your government or your party is being handed over a government, and in 1 year it has been messed up in this much, how do you explain to the Nigerian people?
So, first of all, in your question lies the answer: hysteria. You have just framed a question that relies on a self-eating hysteria to provoke my answer. But I will answer you. Now, the Buhari administration did nothing in 8 years but to clean and mop up the mess.
Okay.
And oh, please don't interrupt me. You'll get your turn.
Thank you.
To mop up the mess made by the PDP. Because what Nigerians don't realize is that the PDP operated a phantom economy.
I thought it was the Buhari government that messed up this economy.
Please hang on. Look, you asked me a question. I'm answering you. And please listen to me. The PDP government created and operated a phantom economy where billions and billions of dollars and naira were awarded and thrown around for national, declared national projects that were never done as such. All of the monies that were simply, rolled out into private pockets. Now, don't forget, when Buhari came in, we had a moment where a lot of information, you did a lot of shows here about the scourge that the PDP had actually, inflicted on this country. Now, listen, what I'm saying is I don't like to look back. If you know, in my conversations with you, I'm a forward-looking person. But if you choose to actually ask that question and you demand an answer from me, then I will tell you that the mess that we're dealing with today was not constructed today. It was constructed generationally. And that generation, the owners and the perpetrators of the heinous, abominable crimes against this country were, manufactured, constructed, and delivered by the PDP in 16 years. So Buhari, just a moment, Buhari was simply an intervenor government that simply came to hold place and, really make sense and hold Nigeria away from the precipice. Now, the Tinubu administration has been inaugurated barely a year ago. And the Segun Showumi is my brother of this world, will not even let that government think, let alone execute programs that are meant to build upon the foundations that the Buhari administration had laid in order for Nigeria to begin to climb out of this hole that we've been sunk in for a very long time. Because there's nothing you're going to tell me, Sheung, about our problems today that were not constructed generationally. How do you explain 64 years of a country on one product selling crude oil, not done anything? That was not Buhari's fault necessarily. It wasn't Tinubu's fault necessarily.
Yeah, primarily not productive.
It is the fault of Nigeria and those who govern Nigeria before today, especially 16 years of the PDP. Look, Mr. Showumi, please calm down. You will get your turn. And when you talk, I'm going to be quiet. Because your comments are distracting me.
I've not made any comments.
No,
my gesticulation.
Your gesticulation.
Thank you.
So hold your gesticulation.
I can borrow you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My gesticulation.
But look, to come back to this conversation, the point I'm making is that, there's no such thing as a straight line in the life of a country. Families, my family, your family, my brother's family here, if and when it becomes imperative to make critical adjustments, they have to be made. Maybe I'm going to cut off some ice cream for my kids if I know I can't afford it today. Doesn't mean they will never have ice cream. They may actually begin to buy ice cream factories when the economic moment and when the opportune moment actually becomes. I am saying to you today, and let me say this before I think you take over. I will tell you that this president has begun with Nigeria to set Nigeria on a path that will. Today, I sit here and I'm going to say this. And I think that a few years from now, bring Mr. Shomi and I back here. Okay. Mr. Shomi will testify that this president will be, after, in the fullness of his tenure, will be about, if not the most accomplished president in the history of our country. Because he is not, like I said, kicking the can to the next president. He's saying, you know what, this problem will be solved on my watch. That's what he's doing. So all of what you're seeing, the momentary, transient difficulties, are part of the organized, interventions, and it will deliver a more prosperous country for all of us.
Quickly, before I bring Mr. Shewumi, without conceding to what you have said about what has happened in the past, our Buhari government, because I would not agree with you on the life of me that Buhari government did anything substantially creative when it comes to the Nigerian economy. They've done some of the worst things, and I can reel out indicators. The facts are there. But we are in the present, in the moment, and let's talk about the moment. This president has said, leave me to it. I begged for this job. I wanted this job, and we get the job done. The problem here is that when things are astronomically changing in the negative, what do you expect Nigerians to do? Yes, things are tough momentarily, but they are getting tougher in the percentage that are astronomical. And the fear for those who love this country is that if we are not careful, we will sleep, wake up, and there won't be any nation.
We won't, Shewon. We won't.
What assurance do you have?
No,
Did you ever expect, Mr. Morka, that dollar will exchange for 1,600 naira in Nigeria 2 years ago? Did you ever expect?
Yes.
Did you ever expect that we're going to buy fuel at over 1,000 naira?
Listen.
Those are some of the fears that people have today.
Listen, it's not complicated. Anybody who has basic, elementary knowledge of economics knows. If I say that this phone, my two phones, that I'm going to sell them for, 50,000 naira today. These are iPhones, right? If I want to sell them for 50,000 naira today, anybody here who has 50K will buy it from me, right? Is that the value of my phone? No, it's not. I decided, by whatever reason, to sell my phones for 50,000 naira. So anybody who has that money can pay. Look, the fact that over the years, we intentionally, as a matter of state policy, fixed and pegged the value of our currency, it has nothing to do with the real value of the currency. If this government today wants to be populist and decide, you know what, we're done. Shewon has said that, the indicators are actually awful. Therefore, starting today, I hereby decree that Naira is going to exchange, for 20 Naira to $1. You know what, actually, that decree, if it's properly legally instrumented, will actually happen. Everybody will go buy $1 at 20 Naira. But does that mean that that becomes the value of the currency? You see, when you artificially set the value of the currency, you actually depress the economy. And over the years, what we've had is that all of the governments before this president depressed our economy by their failure to allow economics and fundamentals of the marketplace to govern and regulate our economy. That's why we're in this trouble. Because over the years, we created this.
So we should be hopeful that Tinubu will fix Nigeria.
I said already that this president not only will fix this, will, demonstrate that he means business by showing massive improvement in the long term for our country in a sustainable fashion, in a way that actually speaks to, I think, his commitment and the commitment of, of our party.
Mr. Shewumi has been groaning in pain.
Yes, he's been
itching to respond to you. You have some responses, isn't it?
You know the story of the Huff and Puff big bad wolf? Okay, there's a big bad wolf that anytime he wants to bring fire, he usually huff and puff, but this time around there's no fire. First of all, he doesn't even understand the concept of currency relative to national stability. I can borrow you a few books. There have always been two arguments in the currency world where those who say you float the currency expecting the market forces to help you bring it to equilibrium. And there are those who will say no, the market force itself is so unpredictable, irresponsible, and Shylock-like, you are going to end up dollarizing your economy, which you have no reason to be doing. And that once you do it, you're going to still eventually come back asking yourself, how low must your currency fall? It's a big topic. Shehu, next time when you talk to me, address me as doctor. I'll talk to him on that. They don't know what they're doing. In terms of inflation, ask him, what is the reason why inflation is this heavy now? I can tell you on behalf of the people that can use it. When the last administration of Buhari, whom they love to convert into their scapegoat, tried to muff out money from circulation by changing the currency, the huff and puff and huff and puff, until we became a nation that is having two legal tenders, having different colors, running the economy at the same time. When you create too much naira within an economy that people are very corrupt, and those who have access to this huge money will find clever ways to go to the dollar market, they're going to put pressure on it. That's that. Again, my brother doesn't really understand what we're talking about when we say nations are in pain. This country called Nigeria has never...
Just a moment. Your mic dropped off.
Did it?
Yeah, so we're going to fix it. Just calm down. Just a moment. Mr. Morka, you heard what Mr. Showme, just as we're fixing that. How do you defend in all of these some of the things that your party is doing and the phase of what we're experiencing? And according to Mr. Showme, it doesn't look like your government of the APC understand the handling of the state of affairs.
No, that's very cheap shot. You can say, I can say you don't even know what you're doing, sitting here moderating this program. But that I say it doesn't mean, that's true. Mr. Showme, wants to speak. He wants to speak to the air. And that's what he's doing. That's his democratic right to say, a lot that speaks to nothing. Fact is, there is no country that has made progress in this world where the currency is, really in a dictatorial fashion, just set arbitrarily. You can do that and, get away with it. But if you're going to do that, you better have a production base that is able to rally and spew production to the point where, the market and those who buy or sell to it are overwhelmed by the forces that you unleash into the marketplace. We only have one, force, one tiny force. That's actually the crude oil force, where in fact, we don't even control the price of crude oil. We're simply passive, takers of whatever the market offers to us based on the vagaries, all of the unpredictable circumstances globally. If there's war in Ukraine, Russia is, throwing these bombs, prices are affected. Right. Now, in Lebanon with Israel and, what's going on in the Middle East is also affected. We don't control that. So I think that when you set your currency value in that context, you're simply inviting people to move away rather than move into your economy.
Mr. Showme, we have just a few seconds.
Yeah, Shehu, in 1973, so that it's not just huffing and puffing, Indonesia, Germany, and a few other countries opted to not follow England, United States, and France on this argument of flotation of the currency. By 1978, the economic experiment came full circle. Guess what? Those who did not devalue their currency were still the ones that had the largest and the most resilient deposit that can fund production. Point number one. Point number 2, these people are so incompetent. If you want to grow your manufacturing sector, you can't be slamming them with high tariff, slamming them with high cost of energy, slamming them with high cost of electricity, slamming them with taxes. Where do you even expect them to have that
totally
way
out of time,
to grow?
We're out of time. I mean,
Of course,
16
of course.
years. What sector did you grow? You grew nothing.
It's too late. No, you see, don't worry. When next we're together, I'll take you through our 16 years.
You know what some people are asking?
What are they saying?
They're asking me for an extension of time here.
Yes.
Give us an extension of time.
But there's no opportunity.
It's beyond my pay grade. So, but what we'll do?
That's their 16 years argument. We'll have it next time.
Debate right on this program.
Yes.
Right after Independence
You
celebration.
should bring somebody else to back him up. Bring somebody else.
No.
No, what I mean by that is you wouldn't know what you're talking about in the sense.
Don't like that. That's not.
I wanted